1987 සිට නව්‍යකරණයෙන් ශ්‍රී ලාංකේය බැංකු ක්ෂේත්‍රයේ පෙරලියක් සිදු කළ අභිමානවත් 30 වසරක සැමරුම සම්පත් බැංකුව හෙට දින එළිය කරයි.
In your headlines tonight, Meethotamulla death toll rises to 32, 10 still missing.
First at 9, this is Other Derana 24/7.
Courts permit garbage dumping in Piliyandala. NBRO warns of possible Meethotamulla repeat. Former president warns of weakened national security. In your international headlines, North Korea threatens nuclear war. Welcome to your news at 9. The true gravity of the Meethotamulla tragedy continues to engulf the country as 2 bodies were discovered today, increasing the death toll to 32. Rescue operations are still underway in search of 10 persons declared missing.
A section of Meethotamulla garbage dump collapsed last Friday, killing at least 32 people. Rescue efforts continued today as well with the cooperation of the Tri-Forces and other institutes. The death toll now stands at 32 with the discovery of 2 bodies within the course of today.
So for the moment, 30 deaths being reported in Meethotamulla collapsing area. So still the army is processing all the rescue missions and disaster management special units and the national unit is coordinating all the matters of that particular mission. More than 300 persons been temporarily accommodated in temporary location. 117 number is completely open for all upcoming issues for the public and free of charge.
Latest information released by the Disaster Management Center leaves the number of missing persons at 10. 1,059 persons of 246 families have been affected by the tragedy. 284 persons from 76 families are being temporarily housed at the Terence N. De Silva Mahavidyalaya, Kolonnava. The Ministry of Home Affairs said the assessment of property damage in the Meethotamulla tragedy continued today and will be completed within 5 days.
No one saw to our needs. They just come and go but never provide a solution.
What if this tragedy struck when people were asleep at night? Had that happened, the cemetery of Kolonnava would not be enough to bury the dead. When we were protesting against this, we were attacked with tear gas. Authorities who exploited this garbage dump are responsible for this.
Meanwhile, the Bar Association of Sri Lanka has decided to provide legal assistance to the victims.
We
will visit the victims and provide legal assistance. One of the BASL members, Nuwan Bopage, fought for this cause by himself before the matter aggravated. We believe the BASL should be with him at this moment. Despite his efforts, this tragedy could not be prevented due to the responsibility of the authorities.
Meanwhile, the funeral of Manil Mangalika, whose body was discovered this morning, was held today.
Leader of the Pivituru Hela Urume emphasizes the need for immediate government intervention to resolve garbage dumping in Colombo and surrounding areas. Parliamentarian Udaya Mampila made the matter evident during a media briefing in Colombo today.
Blue Mandal Kunukandat, Meethotamulla Kunukandat, Dumriya Margen Genianda.
The proposed solution to the garbage dumps in Bloomendal and Meethotamulla by the then Secretary to the Ministry of Urban Development, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, was to transport them to Alukwal in Puttalam. 2 billion rupees for the project were allocated through the 2014 budget. The government was toppled the year after. What happened to the said project after that? Now they are saying no one can dump garbage in state-owned lands from the 1st of May. Is this the solution? The government must get involved in this issue.
And the Sri Lanka Freedom Party Youth Front is confident they can provide a permanent solution to the Meethotamulla garbage issue within 3 months. President of the SLFP Youth Front, UPFA MP Shantha Bandara, elaborated on the matter during a media briefing today.
The main cause of the tragedy is the lack of a system related to garbage disposal. A housing complex could be built with the money which could be raised by selling off the garbage at the Meethotamulla dump. We are ready to provide a permanent solution for this garbage issue within 3 months in case the authorities fail to provide a credible solution. Similarly, we warned of environmental damage during the construction of the expressways and suggested it be built on permanent concrete support structures as its ill effects are felt at present.
The National Building Research Organization warns that rains may bring about a second collapse at the Meethotamulla garbage dump. Speaking to Ada Derana, the director of NBRO, RMS Bandara, said the organization is currently demarcating danger zones surrounding the disaster area with the assistance of Sri Lanka Army.
This thing will be created again with the heavy rainfall. If the heavy rainfall come to this dumping area, so because of that NBRO has demarcated high hazard zone because of future movement. It is about 450 meters long. Width will be changed from 40 meters to 100 meters. I think it includes about 130 houses in that area. Now the boundary is demarcating by the Sri Lankan Army.
In the meantime, the Director General of the Department of Meteorology, Lalit Chandrapala, confirmed to Ada Derana that rains are not forecasted for the next few days.
We are not expecting any significant rainfall over any part of the country during the next 2 to 3 days. However, towards the end of the month, we think that the situation will once again change, resulting in the development of afternoon thunderstorms over most parts of the country.
Ada Derana also contacted Deputy Director of the Disaster Management Centre, Pradeep Kodipilli, to inquire of the contingency measures in place for another possible disaster at the Meethotamulla garbage dump. He affirmed the Disaster Management Centre is ready to face such a contingency at any time. However, such situations should be averted in the future.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe held bilateral discussions with the President of Vietnam, Chang Dai-Hoang, which covered several fields of bilateral topics, including the possibility of organizing an Indian Oceanic Summit which focuses on maritime security of the region. The talks were held at the Vietnamese President's residence in Hanoi yesterday.
During the audience, the President of Vietnam had extended his admiration towards Sri Lanka's current position on national development and the reconciliation process implemented under the leadership of President Maithripala Sirisena. Touching on the recent Meethotamulla tragedy, the Vietnamese head of state extended his condolences to the Sri Lankan government and its people. He said Vietnam would provide assistance to Sri Lanka to prevent a similar tragedy in the future. During the discussions, the President of Vietnam extended an invitation to President Maithripala Sirisena for an official visit to the country. Bilateral discussions were also held between Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe and the General Secretary of the Communist Party of Vietnam, Nguyen Phu Chang, in Hanoi yesterday. The Premier then held bilateral discussions with the Chairman of the National Assembly of Vietnam, Nguyen Kim Nang, in the capital. The Prime Minister and the visiting delegation will return to the island tomorrow morning.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa claims the security forces of Sri Lanka and its safety networks in the former conflict area is weakening. In an interview with the news website World is One, the former head of state warned of a looming disaster. We're bringing you several excerpts from the former president's interview.
When asked if his reign started Sri Lanka's dependency on China, the former president refuted the claim.
So naturally, there was no dependency on China under my government. I must tell you that. All projects were income yielding, so repayment was commercially feasible. The land, we never gave them lands like this. As soon as they came, they cancelled all the contracts with China and they antagonized China. Then thereafter, of course, everything was changed and they are offering 15,000 acres. We never offered them 15,000 acres in the Hambantota. Now what they are doing is I would say they are selling the country.
The former president was asked whether he requested help from India in Sri Lanka's civil war.
They helped us. He didn't have to ask. I was fighting your war, Indian war, not my war. They killed Indian Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi and so many people in Indian soil, not in this soil. In that way, it was not only my war. It is Indian war, it is humanitarian war.
The former head of state was then asked whether he would want to recalibrate his relationship with India if he was to return to power.
Frankly, I think both my government and this present government, and may I say, and in the earlier government, that of President J.R. Jayawardena, have learned lessons. No Sri Lanka government can fail to recognize that cannot antagonize the two Asian giants, that is India and China. We have learned lessons now.
In conclusion, he was asked whether he will return to the fray in the next election.
Mahinda Rajapaksa never left the fray, I would say. So long as my country, my nation, my people are in danger and need me, I remain in the fray.
We'll be back with more local stories after this break. Welcome back to the news. We take a look at your business stories. The Colombo Stock Exchange calls for views and observations from the public regarding the proposed amendments to certain listing rules of the CSE. The amendments have been proposed with a view to facilitate the implementation of an appropriate enforcement mechanism. The CSE also hopes to enhance the quality, transparency and timelines of the disclosure of information. Members of the general public can access the proposed amendments via the CSE website and submit their comments before the 28th of this month. The Colombo bourse rebounded today, driven by foreign inflows, while turnover levels improved to 837 million rupees. Negotiated deals accounted for 46% of the turnover, and foreign investors were net buyers today. With more details, we have Imeshi Fernando from the Colombo Stock Exchange.
The benchmark all-share price index gained 31.11 points to close at 6,382.37, while the S&P Sri Lanka 20 index gained 9.82 points to close at 3,622.78. The turnover was 836.11 million rupees, with 27.7 million shares changed in hands in 4,593 trades. Top 5 gainers of the day were PC House, Palm Garden Hotel, Hapugastana Plantation, Amanataka and Equity 2. Today's foreign purchases were 615.9 million rupees and foreign sales were 443.09 million rupees.
Here's a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other major currencies during the day. I'll be back with more stories after this break. Welcome back. The Casbah Magistrates Court today granted permission for garbage to be temporarily dumped in Karadiana, Piliyandala. The order comes into effect today, permitting the Colombo Municipal Council to temporarily dump garbage at the location collected within the Colombo city limits. Locals protested the arrival of garbage trucks in Dompe.
With the recent tragedy in Methotamulla, the garbage collected within the past few days in the Colombo municipality was brought to Karadiana in Piliyandala. The Colombo Municipal Council informed the magistrate to consider the prevalent emergency situation and grant permission to dump garbage in Karadiana. Casbah Acting Magistrate Sunetra Pereira issued the order permitting 350 tons of garbage to be dumped with effect from today until the 28th of next month. Accordingly, the administration of Karadiana garbage dump only accepted 350 tons of garbage and the remaining trucks were sent back.
We hope to accept the garbage until the 28th of April in accordance with the court order.
The residents, however, protested against dumping garbage and sent the trucks back.
People are scared because of the Methotamulla incident. This is a bane. Even the road users complain of the situation.
Police intervened after the residents started protesting.
And also on the developments of the Meethotamulla garbage issue, meanwhile, Ministry of Megapolis and Western Development has highlighted the government's lack of technical and financial capabilities for not implementing the waste management project proposed by the British company SJP Waste to Energy Limited. The ministry issued a special statement today in response to the comments made by the Chief Minister of Western Province Isura Devapriya yesterday.
Issuing a special statement, Ministry of Megapolis and Western Development today revealed the project proposal on municipal waste solution by SJP Waste to Energy Limited of the UK was evaluated by a technical and financial committee appointed by the ministry. Accordingly, the ministry had sent a letter along with the evaluation report on the 18th of October 2016 to the Director of Waste Management Authority, highlighting 17 issues which needed clarifications. The letter further explains that these clarifications should be met with in order to finalize the viability of the proposed technology for handling waste of the open landfill at Meethotamulla. The statement by the Ministry of Megapolis and Western Development, however, pointed out today the Waste Management Authority is yet to respond to the letter, which the Chief Minister of Western Province Isura Devapriya is also aware of. The report by the Technical and Financial Committee had explained that there is a lack of technical and financial capabilities on the side of the government to meet the proposals forwarded by the particular company. The statement by the ministry further focused on media reports pertaining to comments made by the Western Province Chief Minister Isura Devapriya, claiming that only a 60 perch land was needed for the proposed project. The ministry revealed the project proposal by the British company requested 3 acres of land, contradicting the statement made by the Western Province Chief Minister. The statement further highlights as to how the Colombo Municipal Council had failed to follow requests by the ministry to remove all solid waste at the Meethotamulla dump and to immediately hand over the land to the Urban Development Authority. The Ministry of Megapolis and Western Development affirmed, despite criticism, the Urban Development Authority had taken all possible measures pertaining to the Meethotamulla garbage dump prior to the disaster.
And in today's sports segment, Sri Lanka under-19s lost the third Youth One-Day International against Australia by 102 runs in Hobart. The win gives the Aussies a 2-1 lead in the 5-match series.
Batting first, Australia's under-19 scored 251 runs for the loss of 7 wickets in their 50 overs. Jack Edwards top scored with a knock of 95. Praveen Javikrama was the pick of the bowlers for the Sri Lankans with figures of 2 for 56. In reply, Sri Lanka could only muster 149 with only 3 batsmen reaching double figures. Middle order batsman Jehan Daniel top scored with 55. Opening bowler Ryan Hadley claimed 4 scalps for 61 for the home side.
Moving on to tennis, in first round matches at the Monte Carlo Masters, Germany's Alex Zverev beat Andres Seppi in style, but Bernard Tomic has been sent crashing out by Argentina's Diego Schwartzman. 9th seed Thomas Berdych has also advanced, but Miami semi-finalist Fabio Fognini's run has been brought to an end as he was knocked out by Pablo Carreño.
19-year-old Alex Zverev dominated Andreas Seppi with his forehand and romped to an easy 6-1, 6-2 win. Meanwhile, Diego Schwartzman knocked Bernard Tomic out 6-1, 7-6 to set up a second-round clash with Roberto Bautista Agut. Thomas Berdych also advanced, beating Andrei Kuznetsov 4-6, 6-3, 6-4. The Czech will face either Benoit Paire or Tommy Haas in the second round. Miami semi-finalist Fabio Fognini had his run of form halted by Spain's 13th seed Pablo Carreño, who recorded a hard-fought 7-6, 6-7, 6-3 victory.
And Arsenal beat 19th placed Middlesbrough last night to keep their hopes of Champions League football alive, advancing to 6th in the English Premier League. The win is only Arsenal's third in the last 9 league games and sees them 7 points behind 4th placed Manchester City with a game in hand.
Fielding a 3-man defence for the first time since 1997, Arsenal took the lead in the first half, courtesy of a fine free kick from Alexis Sanchez.
Some goal with a bit of whip. Once you clear the wall, there's no way any goalkeeper is going to get back across and save this.
Alvaro Negredo volleyed home to equalise for Middlesbrough just after the restart. Mesut Ozil's sharp near-post finish then gave Arsenal the 3 points.
Arsenal back in front.
An Argentine fan who was pushed down a stand during a football match 2 days ago has died of head injuries today.
22-year-old Emmanuel Balbo fell onto concrete stairs from a height of about 5 meters and had been declared brain dead upon his arrival in hospital. Balbo had reportedly quarrelled with a man during Saturday's derby between his Belgrano side and visiting Talleres, and witnesses claim that the man had shouted that Balbo was a Talleres fan in disguise. 4 men have already been arrested, and authorities are seeking notorious Barra Brava hooligan Oscar Gomez, who is suspected to have instigated the attack.
Taking a look at your world tonight, North Korea warns of a possible thermonuclear war after the United States announced that its strategic patience over North Korea has ended. The North Korean ambassador to the United Nations warned of war, speaking to reporters at the UN headquarters yesterday.
Tensions between North Korea and the US have continued to rise, with US Vice President Mike Pence warning yesterday that the era of exercising strategic patience over North Korea was over. Hours after Pence visited the demilitarized zone between North and South Korea, North Korean ambassador to the United Nations Kim In-ryong convened a media briefing.
The United States is disturbing the global peace and the stability and insisting on the gangster-like logic that its invasion of the sovereign state is too decisive. It has been created a dangerous situation in which the thermonuclear war may break out at any moment.
And the British Prime Minister Theresa May today announced plans to call a snap general election on the 8th of June, asserting that unity was needed in Westminster over Brexit.
While announcing the snap election, British Premier Theresa May said that it will be the only way to guarantee certainty and security for years ahead.
After the country voted to leave the European Union, Britain needed certainty, stability and strong leadership. There should be unity here in Westminster, but instead there is division. The country is coming together, but Westminster is not. They are wrong. They underestimate our determination to get the job done.
The House of Commons will vote tomorrow to approve the election plan, with a 2/3 majority required for the snap elections to go ahead.
Australia will abolish a temporary work visa popularly used by skilled overseas workers and replace it with a tougher program requiring better English language and work skills. Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull made the announcement, arguing that Australians must be given priority over foreigners for local jobs.
The Australian subclass 457 work visa program was designed to fill gaps in skilled labour and allowed overseas workers to work and live in Australia for 4 years along with their immediate families.
The 457 visa will be replaced by a new system that will be manifestly, rigorously, resolutely conducted in the national interest to put Australians and Australian jobs first.
Current 457 visa holders, however, will not be affected by the changes.
Marine Le Pen, one of the frontrunners in the French presidential election, says that she will suspend all illegal immigration to France. Speaking at a rally in Paris today, the far-right leader said, quote, "The French were no longer at home in France," unquote.
As her campaign reaches its final week before the first round of elections, it was the first time Marine Le Pen said she would, as president, suspend all immigration to France.
My first act as president will be to give France back its borders. Mass immigration is not an opportunity for France, it's a tragedy. I'm not offering to usher you into a violent globalization with the destructive free trade that goes with it and uncontrollable immigration.
Also in international news, the owner of Formula One team Force India and now defunct Kingfisher Airlines, Vijay Mallya, was arrested by Metropolitan Police in London today on behalf of Indian authorities in relation to accusations of fraud. Indian media also report that authorities will attempt to extradite Mallya, who will be presented at Westminster Magistrates Court today.
61-year-old Vijay Mallya has been in the United Kingdom since March 2016, when Indian banks sued to recover $1.4 billion owed by his now-defunct airline Kingfisher. In February, the UK's Home Department certified a request for Mallya to be extradited. The Force India owner had been charged with cheating and conspiracy by India's Central Bureau of Investigation, and New Delhi cancelled his Indian passport in April last year.
We'll be back with your weather forecast after this break. Welcome back. Mainly fair weather will prevail over most provinces of the island during the next 24 hours. However, a few showers may occur in the Sabaragamu and western provinces and in the Galle and Mathura districts. Temperatures in Colombo can reach up to 30 degrees Celsius, while a staggering temperature of 34 degrees Celsius can be expected in the ancient capital of Anuradhapura. Meanwhile, in Kandy, temperatures may reach 32 degrees Celsius. However, spells of rain can be expected from time to time. Here's a look at your city-by-city weather forecast. That's all from the news desk for tonight, but before we go, we'd like to leave you with visuals from the ancient rock fortress, Sigiriya, an unmistakable icon of Sri Lankan heritage. Have a pleasant evening. Good night.
Information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.